Brands today are moving beyond traditional advertising to capture consumer attention. And against this very backdrop, Snapchat has been expanding its marketing abilities with new innovative ad formats. Speaking with Impact Magazine today is Neha Jolly Shani, Head of Ad Revenue, and Yagnesh Ravi, Lead Ad Solutions, about the platform's advertising momentum. Hi, welcome to Impact Magazine.
Hey,
Welcome,
hi.
Neha.
Thank
Welcome,
you for
Yagnesh.
having us here.
Neha, my first question would be for you. So, India has become one of Snapchat's largest user base, but scale doesn't always translate into advertiser growth. So, what are the biggest challenges you would say to convert that user growth into advertiser growth, and how is Snapchat's going about it?
Thank you for that question, Antara. You're absolutely right. India is one of the largest singular user base for Snap globally, and we're very proud to talk about that. But also, what we're seeing is a very distinct shift in the way advertisers are now thinking about Gen Z, and Snapchat actually commands a significant portion of the Gen Z audience in our country. And so the way advertisers are now thinking about Gen Z in terms of how they reach out to this audience, in terms of the ad formats that they're thinking about, is really driven by the user experience and user behavior on the platform. And I think it's such a privilege to be able to share that over the last few years we've seen strong, consistent spends happen from advertisers on the platform. And that's a really strong indicator for two things. One, how advertisers are now paying attention to this generation and meeting them where they are at. But also, I think it's a great indicator of how Snap is now almost a part of mainstream media, and really just the way these advertisers want to engage with audiences in the way that they show up, whether it is AR, whether it is ads and chat, whether it is a different format. And I think Snap we have the privilege of having these multiple formats. We like to call it our multi-format approach. And we've seen consistently brands across, let's say, e-com, quick com, media and entertainment, fashion, retail, really capitalize on that. So I think all of these point to an incredibly positive trend in the way advertisers are now showing up for users.
Okay, got it. But also over the last few years, advertisers have become a bit conscious about where they spend. So, during the budget discussions, what are some of the biggest concerns that you have heard from the marketer sides, and uh, what is the platform doing to overcome them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you for asking that. I think it's absolutely fair for advertisers to be very particular about where their money is spent. And I think it's also fair for them to expect their money to work harder for them, right? So metrics tend to get tighter. And I think it's all a factor of how we're seeing almost an evolution of how advertisers are now showing up. But I think in the same vein, from a Snapchat standpoint, it continues to be a mainstream media spend for a couple of different reasons. One, we talked about the audience, of course, and so advertisers are wanting to meet the audience where they're at. Secondly, I think we're the only platform that can boast 250 million of Gen Z audiences, right? So, like, with the focus on Gen Z audiences, and we show up with differentiated ad formats consistently, which obviously makes for that compelling use case for advertisers to really stop and take notice and say, how can I show up better for this particular user base? So you're absolutely right. I think advertisers are getting much more stringent in the way they're thinking of spends. But at the same time, I think the responsibility is ours to show up with ad formats that are meaningful for the audience as well as for the advertisers. So really to be able to strike that balance.
Okay. Uh, so right now, you also spoke about Snapchat has become one of the biggest platforms in India. But still, much of India's digital ad spending is still concentrated over a handful of large platforms. So, what do you think for Snapchat needs to change that it could command a larger shift in advertising budget over the next few years?
Yeah. So, and honestly, we think about that consistently. And I think it's a factor of us being doing the right thing for our user base as well as for our advertisers. And I think it's a question of us now doubling down on what we're doing, because clearly what we're doing is working. The fact that we've seen almost a 10x advertiser growth in terms of consistent spend over the last couple of years, we've met that demand by doubling our own team and the presence across the country so that we're able to show up for advertisers more meaningfully. So I think now it's a question of us really doubling down on exactly what's working, nurturing those green shoots until they become meaningful and more mainstream, as you said.
Okay. If you can walk us through the types of innovative formats that Snapchat can offer to the advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question. I think my favorite part of Snapchat is that it opens up into the camera. It doesn't open up into a vertical video feed, right? Which essentially puts the user in the director's position. The user becomes the creator. And what a fantastic thing that is, that you elevate the user to that particular space. So of course there's the entire AR format. Chat is a massive brand new undertaking that we've taken on, and I'd love Yagnesh to talk a little bit more about chat, and I'll pass it over to him. And of course then there's all of the vertical video format. So I think the way to think about the app is that it's across 5 different tabs, and I'd love for Yagnesh to talk a little bit more about it. But each of those tabs are meant for multiple different purposes. And now I'm going to hand it over to Yagnesh to really just talk about that.
So yeah, I think Neha spoke about the 5 tabs, right? I think we sort of, just to simplify it, we speak about 3 tabs, which is you have chat and you have sponsored snap. You have the camera where we have AR, and then you have a content services where we have what we call as a snap or video ads. So across all of them, our ad formats still look different. Even if you speak about something as standardized as video, it shows up differently on Snap. We call them our own version of snappy ad formats, right? Like, they're not passive consumption. They have interactive stickers. They have countdowns. They have ways that makes users interact and make the whole process two-way. And that is inherent in AR because it immerses you. It puts you in the center of the experience. And even in chat, is an opt-in experience. You see it as a snap, you tap on it to engage more, right? So the fundamental difference between Snap and the way the ad formats show up is it's not intrusive. It encourages users to take part in it, and it just immerses them instead of being like just another small piece of content they saw amongst millions.
Got it. But Snapchat's ad business has been long associated with upper funnel engagement. But right now, do you also see advertisers engaging in performance channel, using Snapchat as a performance channel? And if so, what metrics are convincing them to do that?
Yeah, I think a big part of our revenue is also moved to lower funnel, right? And that goes back to your previous question of there's a lot more scrutiny on marketing money, and there's a lot more short-term view of when this money comes back to us in terms of business, right? That automatically means the marketing world is moving more towards lower funnel advertising. I think a few quarters ago, we announced 75% of our global revenue is now DR led. So that's a very significant share, right? So, and that pivot we did in a very short period of time.
Okay.
Right. From as recent as early few years ago, where we were primarily upper funnel heavy, to most recently announcing that 75% of our global revenue is now DR. So a lot of that is because of the work we've done on the back end on our ad engine, where we've not just made incremental changes, but completely rebuilt the ad stack ground up. So very significant part of ours is also on the low part of the funnel, but it's still balanced.
Understood. And among all of the innovative formats you just spoke about, airlines, sponsored ads, chat advertisement, which one of it is right now showing the strongest impact for the brands? Which one is getting more adoption?
I think like chat and AR continue to be like our true like Northern Star type ad formats because of how inherently distinct they are. And it's also the most natural way that people uses the app, right? So chat and AR continue to be a big part of what showing up properly on Snap truly looks like for most brands.
Yeah.
But video is also a huge part of it. But yeah, the fastest growth has been chat. But that's because we opened that up recently. But across all ad formats, we've seen steep growth just because of the stage of where we are in India. We're in a very high momentum growth stage. So everything is growing super steeply. But I think chat being new and our biggest surface just meant there's a lot more momentum on that direction.
For sure.
Right now, coming to cricket in a snap, the initiative that has been launched, just before IPL. So IPL has now concluded. What kind of engagement did the initiative generate?
Yeah, so cricket on Snap was a huge success for us. I know we discussed this when we met like about 3 months ago. So we had a very interesting mix of advertisers who eventually came in, right? From brands who were deeply invested in the broadcast or the match, like say someone like an OpenAI or a Swiggy, all the way to brands who almost relied on Snap to drive a lot of that awareness, like someone like OnePlus, Mondelez and others, right, who were a lot more Snap heavy in their view. So we had a great mix of brands, and each of them leveraged very uniquely Snap first products. We spoke about how we had a live score based API on AR, where we had trigger based ads on chat, to having 40-50 creators make content for you over the app. So we saw a very, very wide shift, like from new age, like we spoke about, like AI platforms, all the way to traditional categories. And I think it's really a format that we're trying to see how do we replicate going forward to moments that are coming up, all the way to festive in India. But yeah, that's what the set of clients look like.
Okay, so during this whole initiative, did this attract any new category of brands, or was it largely the brands that were already on the platform?
So we had a lot of our existing brands double down, but we had a lot of new brands try out Snap for the first time because of this, right? The way we built out the packages was sort of serving among the largest advertisers, but as we went through the tournament, we also made versions of that available for a broader set of bases. So there we had brands, in much smaller categories testing grounds with Snap for the first time, from the likes of EdTech and beyond. But that's an interest that we've seen, and we're working with to try to see how do we manage this and make sure that we allow brands like these to show up with the same set of tools that all the large brands have on Snap. And that's something we're working through as we go into festive.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, thanks, Yagnesh. I think moments are such a key, moment, for lack of a better word, on Snap. I think there is a very interesting user behavior that we see, because the platform is about showing up as your whole self, and it's about close friends and family. We see this uptick in user behavior right before a key moment, whether it is IPL, whether it is Mother's Day, some of the festive occasions that Yagnesh spoke about. And so moments, I think, is just the way you show up on Snap, both as a user as well as an advertiser, is just very unique in comparison to perhaps some of the other platforms. And I think we've figured sort of out what kinds of, to Yagnesh's point, packages we can, enable for existing advertisers to double down, but also for new advertisers to really take, put us into that innovation bucket, see where they land. And then more often than not, we've seen sort of a steady growth trajectory there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that FIFA World Cup is coming up, any plans around it? Do you see interest from brands and
I think we have some early signs of brands that are keen, especially global brands that have partnerships with FIFA around. I think those where they're already come to us, we're working with them to try to see how to bring those campaigns to life in India. For most of the others, we're still working through some of the details. But yes, I think between the FIFA World Cup and the Women's World Cup, there's still a lot more sports excitement happening for us in the month of June. So we've had a lot of brands keen on both, and we've had some brands choose one versus the other. So yeah, like post IPL, we've just been pivoting to these formats, to these events, to double down with a lot of brands.
Okay, but if we speak about cricket, it's one of the most cluttered advertising environment in India. So can you help me with some kind of a metrics that would show that Snapchat has helped brands better than traditional forms of advertising in terms of impact?
Yeah, I think even if you leave cricket aside for a minute, one of the most important things about Snap, and this is something that really came out in our research with Lumen and WBP Media last year, is that Gen Zs, for example, pay 34% lower attention on conventional ad formats and platforms, right? So, and what the study also found out that Snap's unique ad format, which are immersive in nature, like a lot of our formats like AR, commercials and beyond, they truly help drive attention amongst Gen Zs. In fact, what we saw was when you combined multi-format campaign that Neha was alluding to, right, where you mix everything from chat to AR and beyond, it increases the active attention by 5x.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem of attention compounds during these peak periods that you speak about, right? If we speak about in an average place, Gen Zs pay less attention. That factor just compounds in days where the amount of advertising volume is significantly high. So we feel like it's the place where we feel attention is super crucial beyond BAU, and driving attention during these heavy clutter period is going to be super crucial. And that's where Snap really comes in,
Okay.
right? Because we're not a lean back passive scroll platform, and we're active lean in platform where people see themselves and they opt in to play with ads. We've seen that show up in the results of all of the brands, for example, who took part in Cricket and Snap. Maybe we'll work with Poonam to see ways we can share those with you externally. But we had multiple clients, say from Instamart. We've had case studies from mentors and beyond who show that when they use Snap, the amount of attention and as a result, the brand lift they got was significantly higher. One of the other interesting data points we saw is because the time spent on Snap is considered deeply meaningful by more than 72% of users.
Yeah.
Combined with the multi-format ads, the average brand awareness lift on Snap is 10 percentage points.
Okay.
Right? That's a significant delta over what brands can see. So I think that's a combination of all of these things, which is the formats, the fact that it's built differently, and it has your close friends together, is leading to the numbers that we are speaking about right now.
No, right. So as we come to the final part of this discussion, what can advertisers expect from Snapchats in the coming, over the next 12 months maybe? And what key strategies are you building towards? What goals are you hoping to achieve through them?
I'll break it in two parts and then I'll hand it over to Neha. But I think we continue to completely rebuild our performance ad stack, and that's showing tremendous results for advertisers, right? Like we're also doubling down on multiple parts of the funnel, all the way to app re-engagement on chat. That's coming up right now. So that's a place where we continue to double down and advertisers continue to see success and we scale. And then when it comes to opportunities to build brand awareness or upper funnel engagement, I think there we have a lot of they can expect a lot of interesting things from us. Let's say the moments packages we're building for festive and not just for something as big as Diwali, right? Yeah. Multiple smaller ones, like we had one for Mother's Day. We're building out one from everything from Raksha Bandhan, Independence Day and beyond, right? Those could be really, really interesting ways to use Snap. And globally, we've started testing AI-sponsored snaps, which allows you to interact with chat, you leveraging a backend LLM. So a lot of super interesting things. We recently also had a AI lens campaign from APV, which allows users to immerse themselves as the characters or titles from APV. So we're trying out a lot of fresh ideas, and advertisers can expect a lot of interesting things that deliver business value for them across the fund. So hopefully they look forward to that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'll just add to that. I think exactly that. I think the way we continue to show up with differentiated ad formats will continue on for the next 12 months. I think the way that we engage with advertisers will get much deeper from a Snapchat standpoint. And of course, as a part of that differentiated offering, it offers advertisers the opportunity to try something new for the very first time and really get that first mover advantage and, the associated benefits of it. So I think that's really what's in store for the next 12 months. Extremely, extremely exciting times.